Waterford is Ireland's oldest city. Thomas Francis Meagher has always been a popular figure here in Waterford County and the southeast of Ireland. But it hasn't been until recently that events started taking place in Waterford city centre to officially commemorate one of Waterford's most famous citizens. Here are the RTE News reports, Ireland's national broadcaster, from 2011 and 2012. The reports were seen by hundreds of thousands of people, many of whom had no idea the importance of Meagher and the fact that the first ever tricolour was flown in Waterford in 1848. Born in Waterford to a Canadian father, Thomas Francis Meagher became one of the leaders of the Young Irelanders, and taking a lead from the French tricolour, he conceived the idea of a new flag for Ireland in 1848. An actor dressed as Meagher spoke the words from 163 years ago, when Meagher first raised the flag from the first floor of 33 The Mall, Waterford City.
I present it to my native land and trust that my country will once again accept this symbol of a new life from one of her children.
The symbolism of the flag is obviously the green, white and orange peace between Irish Catholic and Irish Protestant. That was delivered in a speech by Thomas Francis Meagher in 1848.
It's one of these kind of forgotten facts of history. Not a lot of people know it, but as a city we kind of want to promote the heritage and history of Waterford and all aspects of the history and heritage of Waterford. So that's what the event is all about.
Representatives of the 69th Regiment were also at the event, as Meagher was a founder and leading member of the New York 69th Infantry Brigade during the US Civil War. The ceremony also marked the largest display and gathering in Waterford City of Irish naval personnel since 1981. It was also attended by the Canadian Ambassador Loyola Hearn and representatives from Saint-Herblain in France, which is twinned with Waterford. It's hoped this commemorative event will become an annual one. Damien Tiernan, RTE News, Waterford.
The hands of the Irish Protestants and the Irish Catholic will once again be crossed in historic and generous brotherhood.
Actor Kieran Doyle as Thomas Francis Meagher. The Irish tricolour flag was raised for the very first time in March 1848, here at 33 The Mall in the city. The man responsible for this historic event was the Irish-American soldier Thomas Francis Meagher. The Tricolour Celebration is a commemoration of this most historic event in Irish history, and the Governor of Montana came here specially for today's event.
Thomas Francis Meagher was the second governor in the history of Montana, and Thomas Francis Meagher has the largest statue in front of the capital in the state of Montana. We not only revere the memory of Thomas Francis Meagher, but all of the Irish who came to Montana and built a remarkable state.
The government hopes tourism events such as this will develop into major attractions, and there are also plans to grow the American Civil War commemoration connections.
It's a huge niche market in America, the interest in the Civil War, heritage and tourism. What we've been doing is we've been identifying sites within Ireland that relate to the American Civil War, birthplaces of famous generals, people like Thomas Francis Meagher, even more unusual things like a factory in Limerick that made all the Confederate uniforms, Tate's factory in Limerick. What we've been doing is we've been identifying all these sites, and we're going to help try and promote that within America, so people who are interested in American Civil War tourism and heritage come to Ireland and visit these sites over a week or over a few days. Hopefully we're going to build a whole tour around the whole event.
Damien Tiernan, RTE News, Waterford. In March 2013, Gilbert Meagher came specially to Ireland for what is now an annual commemoration event. He first visited Leinster House to see the famous flag of the 69th Regiment, which John F. Kennedy brought to Ireland 50 years ago when he visited the Irish Parliament as President of the United States. In Waterford, Gilbert Meagher was joined by members of the Fighting Irish 69th, and they stayed in the Granville Hotel, the birthplace of Thomas Francis Meagher. And at a special gala dinner on the Saturday night before this year's formal commemoration, two of the people who've gone out of their way to develop this initiative and give countless hours of their own time were honoured. Anne Cusack and James Doherty were made presentations and symbolically enrolled into the 69th.
Attention to orders. By order of the Commander, 1st Battalion, 69th Infantry Regiment, in the special interest of the regiment's continuing traditions and esprit de corps, Anne Cusack is hereby designated an honorary private of the Fighting 69th.
A presentation was also made to Gilbert Meagher. The next day, in unseasonal weather conditions, the formal commemoration event took place. RTE News again broadcasts a report of this historic occasion on the main evening news. Here it is, now included with extended interviews.
Thus too shall Ireland survive all her sufferings, her errors and disasters, and rear one day an arc of triumph high above the wreck and wilderness of the past.
The words of Thomas Francis Meagher as spoken by actor Kieran Doyle. Meagher invented the Irish Tricolour in 1848, it being inspired by the French Tricolour. It was here at 33 the Mall in Waterford the flag was first flown. Meagher was born in what is now the Granville Hotel. He fought against British rule, was deported, escaped to America, and led the Fighting Irish 69th Regiment in the US Civil War.
My name is Jim Tierney. I'm the historian of the 69th Regiment. I'm a retired Army officer. I was a colonel when I was in the Army, so I work. Each unit, each regiment in the United States Army has a regimental staff. And to be on the regimental staff, you had to be retired from the military and have served in the unit. So I serve on the regimental staff as the historian.
Do the Irish underestimate the importance of Meagher?
I can't speak for the Irish. I think a lot of people do underestimate the importance of Thomas Francis Meagher. He's very important to the regiment. 1848 and the Young Ireland Rebellion is very important to the regiment because it was in 1848 in March, around the same time that Meagher gave the flag in Dublin, presented the flag and said he hoped it would be a symbol of Irish freedom. The leader of Young Ireland, William Smith O'Brien, called for raising an Irish brigade in New York City made up of Irish Americans and Irish immigrants and training them in the militia system, the National Guard. And the 69th evolved from those companies. It was the first regiment of the 69th came into the militia, the New York State National Guard, as it was later called, in 1849. So we trace our roots back to those days with Meagher and Young Ireland.
How important is it to commemorate an event like this today?
I think it's very important. One, you should never forget your history, and at least from a military point of view, the regimental staff is the proponent for history, honors, lineage, and tradition. So we take those roles away from the active units so they can train for the military mission. So our job or our function is to instill a sense of history in the soldiers. And frankly, I believe that's very important because it makes the unit, its history makes the unit better today. They do things better than anyone else because they're thinking about everyone that came before them, So I think it's very important that we have things like this. And an event like this where we bring, we're traveling with two of the sergeants, the full-time sergeants from the 69th, and they'll go back and they'll tell their troops, and it makes it real. In the Armory we'll have a display on Meagher and the early leaders of the regiment, but this brings it to life.
Meagher's last direct descendant, his great-great-grandson Gilbert Meagher, came to Waterford for the first time to hand over Meagher's battle sword to the city and to the nation.
I've been trying to get here since 1996. Michael, it's the first time he invited me over here. Very important. I like the people of Waterford. They deserve the sword. My grandfather or my dad always said, we have two swords. I have a dress sword and I have the sword that he used in combat. And that's it. You ought to do something graceful with it. Give something to somebody or sell it, whatever you want. So I figured it would be rightful to bring it back to Ireland. My grandfather always wanted to return home, but he was cut short to do that. So 165 years later, here I am. And I want to bring the sword to people of Ireland and the people of Waterford.
Sometimes we understate the importance of Meagher in Ireland's history and also in the State's history, and you're so personally intertwined with it. It must be very special at times, is it?
I didn't realize he was as popular over here in Ireland. In the United States, he's popular because of being a brigadier general in the Civil War and then also the governor of Montana. But over here, it's totally different. It's overwhelming. Actually, when I got here, it's just the people are so nice and they all got God in their hearts. You could tell they're good people.
The sword is going on public display at the Bishop's Palace Museum in Waterford. Organisers of today's Tricolour commemoration hope to develop the tourist potential of Meagher and the US Civil War connections with Ireland.
I truly understand why my great-great-grandfather always wanted to return home. Because the people of Waterford encompass the true meaning of love and courage by having God in their hearts. I would like to thank the people of Waterford for their generosity, incredible hospitality, and warm, heartfelt welcome. I will take back to the United States your true display of love, passion, and decency for the common man. Thank you.
Damien Tiernan, RT News, Waterford.
I present it to my